So if you want to see how I made this Austrian-inspired banh mi, keep on watching. So here's an overview of my toppings. Blood sausage, pickle, liver dumplings, cucumber, freshly cut chili, parsley, freshly grated horseradish, and of course, a chive mayo. For my pickled element, I'm going to be using kohlrabi and carrot. So I'm just going to go ahead and get these all sliced up into little, or the technical term, I'm going to julienne it, and I'm going to put together my pickling liquid. I'm going to be using my little milk jug here. In this measuring jug, I got some rice wine vinegar and water, equal parts. Turned out to be 125 mils each, because that's all the rice wine vinegar I had left. So to this, I'm going to add some sugar and salt. That was a tablespoon of brown sugar, half a tablespoon of salt. Now I'm going to take this to the stove, heat it up till all the sugar and salt's dissolved. And while that's dissolving, I'm going to get these into a jar. When you're putting these in the jar, just go ahead and give them a little mix around, because otherwise you're going to have all carrot or all kohlrabi on the top there. Once all your sugar and your salt's dissolved, you're just going to pour it straight over the top. There's a little trick I like to use to make sure that all of your veg is in the pickling solution. Just to get a piece of paper towel and you bung it on in there and you push it down, and then once sort of the paper towel is completely saturated in the pickling solution, you know that the ones that are on top are also getting pickled. Once you got them all pushed down, you're going to set this aside till you're ready to use it. To make the little dumplings, it's quite simple. We're just going to melt some butter in a pan, and once this is all melted down, I'm going to add some onions. I should say, once it's mostly melted, we're going to add the onions. Now we're going to take this to the stove, and we're going to keep it over a medium-low heat, and we just want to soften these onions. We don't want any colour on them. So I'm going to take them to the stove, get them softened up. I've got my onions all softened up here. I've got some parsley, garlic and oregano all chopped up. So with this, the recipe actually calls for mayo. And because I didn't plan this out very well, I actually don't have any. So I subbed in some oregano, or oregano. Depends on where you're from in the world. So we'll just get that all stirred in, and then we're going to set this aside until it cools down completely. You can also pop it in the fridge to speed up this cooling process. Next we need to blend up some bread. So you could use just normal white bread here, but considering we're making an Austrian dish, we're going to use this semmel, aka Kaiser roll. We're going to need 2 of them. We'll get the lid on, then we'll blend him up. It's a good way to get the big ones down to the bottom on these kind of blenders. You just turn it upside down. Give it a good old shake. Alrighty. Now once you've got all your bread nicely processed down, transfer it to another bowl and get on to the next step. So the butcher I usually go to get these livers, turns out they went on holiday. So I had to go to a different one, and they only had some veal with their livers. Usually I wanted to use some pork, but they don't have any. So I'm going to be using some veal. Also, they're in quite big chunks at the moment, and I'm just going to go through with my knife, and I'm just going to use my knife to mince these down in a lot smaller pieces. So I'm just going to go through and do that. Then we'll come back. Once you got your livers all nicely minced up, you just want to scooch them off into a bowl. Then you want to get your breadcrumbs that you cut up earlier. The best way to get this all mixed in is with your hand. Squeeze it through my hand so it gets nice and mixed up. And also, then you'll feel for any big chunks of liver if you missed any while you're mincing it up. Next, you want to add in your little parsley, onion, butter deal. Get that scooped in there. And also 2 eggs. So we'll go ahead and get that all mixed up. Nicely combined. Once you've got it all nicely mixed together, I'm going to go ahead, put some plastic wrap on top and stick it in the fridge for about 30 minutes. As the sun's messing up my shot, we're going to make some chive mayo. Now I also want a little bit of garlic in here, so I've got like just a little sliver. We'll plop that in. I have another little piece there in case it needs some more. We're also going to give it a little squeezer of mustard. What's that? Teaspoon? 2 teaspoons? Yeah, looks about right. And give it a little sprinkle of salt. And obviously the all important chives. Now I just got a bunch of chives here, and I just went and chopped them up into little pieces just to help my immersion blender out there. We'll bung all that in, and we're also going to pour in our oil. I'm using peanut oil. I always use peanut oil for mayonnaise because it's the most neutral tasting oil that I can find in the supermarkets. In Austria anyway. We're just going to pop the blender in and yeah, get the blending. Once you got it kind of blended up, it's nice and thick, I just like to go ahead and give it a good scrape. Just make sure everything's nice and blended up. Make sure all that chive got blended in. Now, you could thin this out and would make it much easier to blend up fully, but then you're going to have a thin mayonnaise. And I like a very thick mayonnaise, so this is the way you got to do it for that. Once you get it all blended up, just want to go ahead and give it a taste. Oh yeah, for me, that is just perfect. So we'll go ahead, get this transferred over into a squeeze bottle, and we'll stick it into the fridge until we're ready to use it. It's been 30 minutes and I've just taken my mixture out the fridge. Just by looking at it, it is still a little bit wet. So I'm just going to go ahead and add 2 tablespoons of breadcrumbs, and we'll go ahead and get that mixed in, and then we'll check the consistency. That's looking much better. You're just looking for a mixture that's going to hold together once you roll it into a little bowl. Now that's holding it quite well. It's not too dry either, otherwise you're going to have some kind of tough dumpling to eat. I'll get a plate and then we'll start rolling these into little bowls. Anytime you're making little bowls out of anything, wet hands. It helps tremendously. So you're looking for about, you want to put these in the baguette. So these are actually a little too big for what I'm after. I want nice little ones. So that's about the size of a little meatballs if you're making some pasta or something like that. And that's what I'm looking for. Just going to go through, get all these rolled out. Once you've got them all rolled out, the nice little balls like this, we're going to get a pot of water on a bare simmer with a little bit of salt in it, and then I'm going to add it to it. Got my pot of water on a bare simmer here. Wow, it's kind of boiling at the moment, but once I put all the dumplings in, it should be all right. So, sprinkle a bit of salt in there, and then we're just going to load these in there. Once you got them all in there, I'm going to let them cook away on a gentle simmer for 12 minutes. To cook up the blood sausage, it's quite simple. Just a little bit of oil in the pan, just so it doesn't stick initially. I've gone ahead and already kind of chopped it up and taken the skin off, cut into little rings, and we're just going to cook this around for a few minutes until we form some little crusty bits. It doesn't take long for this to start cooking up, but make sure you have yourself a good spatula so you can scrape up all the good bits that are sticking to the bottom of the pan there. You could try and leave these whole, but I'm envisioning turning this into a bit of a paste on the bread. So I'm going to go ahead and get mine all broken up and mixed through while we finish off cooking it. This stuff doesn't take too long to cook, and once it's got a little bit of colour on it and got a few little crispy bits in there, you just want to get it out the pan, put it into another bowl, and you're ready to build your sandwich. Let's build this thing. Let's just take a moment to admire this crumb we got in this bread here. Absolutely perfect. The old blood sausage is quite fatty, so before you spread it on there, just give it a little mix around so you get all that goodness. All right, now I'm a massive fan of blood sausage, so I'm going in with quite a heavy layer on the bottom. All right, now in between that, gonna go in with some of the pickle. Also again, just give it a little mix around. Now we're going in with the dumplings. Now I'm gonna go ahead and cut these in half because I think I made them a little bit too big and I wanna stack them in there. Then we'll go in with a couple of little cucumbers. Sprinkle just a little bit of chili on there. Horseradish. Also, we got blood sausage and horseradish. Match made in heaven. I'm going kind of heavy on that one. Okay, now we'll give it a good old squirt of the mayonnaise. Also the chive and dumplings here, the liver dumplings. When you eat these in a soup, it's kind of mandatory to have some chive sprinkled over the top. And we're going to finish this behemoth off with some parsley over the top. We'll close it up. And then you got to get your laughing gear around that. So, traditionally in a banh mi, they have some sort of pate, liver pate. So I thought I'd make some dumplings, and instead of using it as a spread, use that as the main component in there, and then use some blood sausage as a spread. Let's see how it tastes. Oh, something in my face. Yeah. I wasn't 100% sure how this was going to turn out, but if you're a liver fan and a blood sausage fan like I am, you're definitely going to try this one out.